Okay, so moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cody that this council meeting does now resume in open session at the hour of 6:01.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Ganane, seconded by Councillor Cody. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. We have a resolution. Councillor Rayner, you have a resolution from close. 2B.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cody that the Township Solicitor and CEO be and is hereby authorized to proceed as directed in closed session with respect to a solicitor-client advice legal matter, specifically a matter that relates to the industrial wind turbine project, and if needed, report back to a future committee or council meeting.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution. Moved by Councillor Rayner, seconded by Councillor Cody. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. At this point, we will be recessing our regular meeting to consider a muzzle order appeal. Should take about a half an hour. And so at this point, we just basically have a meeting inside the meeting. I'll be the chair of this muzzle order appeal. This is a special council meeting. I'd like to ask at this time, are there any conflicts of interest with respect to that? Seeing none, I'd like to call this hearing to order. All cell phones to be turned off, and there is the meeting is being audio-video recorded. The purpose of this appeal hearing with respect to a notice to muzzle under bylaw number 2011-44 being a bylaw to provide for the licensing, control, and regulation of dogs. An appeal has been submitted by Mr. Ian Jenkins of 3118 Grassy Road for his two dogs, Daisy and Mo. I would like to make the following introductions. The committee consists of the members of council, myself, Dave Bilsma, the chair, Councillor Chris Cody, Councillor Cheryl Ganane, Councillor Mike Rayner, and Councillor Jason Trombetta. Unfortunately, both Councillor Harold Jonker and Councillor William Riley are absent this evening. From administration, we have our CAO, Ms. Bev Hendry, our clerk, Ms. Joanne Chime, and the Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble. The applicant and owner of the dog is Mr. Ian Jenkins. From the Welland District SPCA, we have Caitlin Weber. There we go. Animal Control Officer, and Amanda Ellis, Enforcement Manager, OSPCA Inspector. The victim of the dog bite is Mr. Michael Recepsic, and I hope I've said that right, but he unfortunately, who advised he's unable to attend the meeting, so that's the pronunciation for the evening. This hearing is being held to hear an appeal of notice to muzzle by the appellant Ian Jenkins in accordance with Section 105 of the Municipal Act 2001 and Section 13 of West Lincoln Bylaw 2011-44 being a bylaw to provide for the licensing, control, and regulation of dogs. Section 13C of the bylaw 2011-44 provides as follows. Upon receipt of the application for a hearing from an owner of the alleged vicious dog, the clerk shall convene a meeting of the appeal committee and shall give the owner of the dog any material witness relevant to the declaration, the victim, if any, and the agency which declared the vicious dog and issued the notice of muzzle 7 days written notice by personal service or express post mail of the time, date, and location of the hearing. Section 14 of the bylaw 2011-44 outlines the process as it relates to a decision of the appeal committee. Sections A, B, and C of Section 14 provide as follows. The appeal committee shall deliberate the merits of the evidence presented and shall render its decision at the meeting or shall reserve its decision to be presented later, which shall not be later than 10 days following the date of the hearing. B, the decision of the appeal committee is final and binding. C, the appeal committee shall confirm the vicious dog declaration and order or exempt the owner of the dog from any of the muzzle, restraining, or leashing requirements, or all, or dispose of an appeal by consent order. So at this time, I'd like to ask the clerk to advise of the method and dates by which the written notice was provided regarding the time, date, and location of this hearing.
The proper notice was given by way of individual notice sent by mail and email dated July 30th, 2019.
So the date of the incident was June 11, 2019. The appellant of the muzzle order is Mr. Ian Jenkins. He's the applicant and dog owner. The Welland and District SPCA investigator is Caitlin Weber, and the victim of the dog bite incident was Michael Resipsik. The evening's agenda included the following documentation, which is subject to this hearing. A, there's a notice of hearing dated July 30. That's the first page. B, there's a copy of letter received June 28 from Mr. Ian Jenkins requesting a hearing with respect to the declaration of a vicious dog and notice to muzzle order, including a receipt of an appeal hearing fee. There's 2 pages of that. There's a copy of the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals occurrence report, investigation number 15666, issued by Welland and District SPCA, Caitlin Weber, investigator. Date received by email July 15, 2019. There's 2 pages of that. There is a copy of the email sent by Mr. Michael Resipsik to Welland and District Humane Society dated June 12, 2019, time 2:36 p.m., and there's a page of that. There's a copy of the Niagara SPCA and Humane Society Animal Services synopsis, muzzle appeal, and the date received by email was July 15, 2019. There is a copy of the Niagara SPCA and Humane Society Animal Services handwritten notes by Caitlin Weber, Animal Control Officer, date received by email July 15, 2019. G, there's a copy of the Niagara SPCA and Humane Society Animal Services order to muzzle a vicious dog, Daisy, issued by Caitlin Weber, Animal Control Officer, on June 21, 2019. Date received by email July 15, 2019. There is a copy of the Niagara SPCA and Humane Society Animal Control Services order to muzzle vicious dog, Mo, issued by Caitlin Weber, Animal Control Officer, on June 21, 2019. Date received by email July 15, 2019. There is a copy of the statement and pictures from Mr. Ian Jenkins, who is the dog owner and applicant, received by email on August 6, 2019, 15 pages. And there is copies of extracts from Township of Westlink bylaw number 2011-44, which provides for the licensing, control, and regulation of dogs relating to this issue. There's 4 pages of that. Some of the personal information has been redacted from the information above. Will the Animal Control Officer please come forward to the table and provide your statement and evidence in support of why you have designated the dogs to be dangerous and have issued the muzzle order?
Just right there, Caitlin.
And please state your name for the record.
It's Caitlin Weber.
Okay.
So as sorry.
You are going to administer the oath at this time, Mr. Treble.
Sure.
Do you swear that the evidence that you're about to give in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may proceed, Ms. Weber.
Okay. 1 second here. So on June 12th, we received a report about a dog bite at 3118 Grassy Road. I contacted the complainant, Michael, his last name, I can't pronounce that either. So I contacted him in regards to what happened. I asked him for a statement and photos if there was any of the bite that he received. He emailed me a statement and a photo of the dogs that were muzzled and the bite of it. After I received the evidence of that, I went to Mr. Jenkins' house and issued 2 muzzle orders for his dogs, Mo and Daisy, at that time. So I'm not sure if you guys have the photos of the bite and the dogs muzzled.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Do you, so at this time, I'd like to ask, is the dog owner or his agent wish to question the animal control officer? Is Mr. Jenkins present? Do you wish to ask any questions? No, okay. Do any members of the council wish to ask the animal control officer any questions? Councillor Ganane.
You mentioned that, and I also read the statement from the injured party, and it sounded like the dogs were already muzzled. So had there been a previous muzzle order on these dogs, or the applicant now is just looking at having that removed, but that was a voluntary thing at the time?
Yes, correct. There was an incident before with him, so we did speak to him in regards to that because we do understand that his dogs were working dogs and doing their job protecting the property, and that's, we had a lengthy conversation about it, and he said, like, I will muzzle them and keep them, you know, he was putting the right precautions in place. The only problem was the muzzle wasn't accurate for.
Okay. But the first part was voluntary. He decided
Yes.
to do that after
Yep.
incident. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cody.
Yeah, Mr. Michael,
Racipsic.
Michael?
in his statement, he says there was a vicious dog sign on the property. Did you
There's
see?
two.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the animal control officer? Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mr. Racipsic, being the victim of the dog bite, has advised by email to the clerk that he is unable to attend this evening's appeal hearing. However, he's provided a written statement, which I would like to ask the clerk to read into the record. Is it this one?
Thank you, Mayor Belsma. The email I received today read, "Hi, Caitlin and Joanne. I have just returned from vacation. For a variety of reasons, I'm unable to attend this meeting. I have reviewed Mr. Jenkins' statement. He is correct that I had previously scheduled a meeting for June 11th with him by phone. He is correct in the presence of a doghouse and an upside-down table on the laneways as blockage. See photo." He also attached a photo to his email. "I don't have specific recollection of his attendance instructions as outlined in his statements from our initial discussion. I ordinarily would have made notation of the same. Perhaps he did make such statement, but it is strange that I don't have notation of the same. Nonetheless, he was aware I was attending his place that day. When I called him on June 11th to advise him I was running late for our scheduled appointment, he didn't answer the phone. I left a voicemail. The second call I placed after I was bit also wasn't answered. It was only on the third call that day that he answered the phone, as he has been working in the back field taking down some brush trees. I have been in my line of work for nearly 20 years and regularly attend properties on a daily basis, as I did at Mr. Jenkins. Many of these properties will have dogs on the property. This was the first time I have ever been bitten by a dog when attending such appointment. Despite the one dog muzzled, it was still able to nip at my wrist and break the skin. Had it not been muzzled, from what I understand is from a prior order, I'm sure the bite would have been worse. I understand the dogs remain on the property due to the presence of a hidden fence. However, it may only be a matter of time before the dogs learn to break free of this and/or are able to chase a cyclist, pedestrian, should the fence be inoperable, say due to a power outage. I have no doubt that his dogs are kind and protective of what is presumably his immediate family, as depicted in his photos. However, none of my actions were out of the ordinary for a visitor to any premises and did nothing to provoke or aggravate the dog. Sincerely, Michael
Racipsic.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for reading that into the hearing. Are there any other witnesses in support of the animal control officer in the case? Seeing none. At this time, there's an opportunity to question. if there's, okay, sorry, yeah. Does the appellant dog owner, Mr. Jenkins, wish to come forward to the table and provide your statement or evidence in support of why your dog should not be considered dangerous and vicious and should not be muzzled? Please come forward, state your name, and Mr. Treble will swear you.
Ian Jenkins.
Ian Jenkins, yeah.
The Bible's-
Do you swear that the evidence that you're about to give in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I
help you
do.
God? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, great. Does the, so at this time, you have an opportunity to speak?
Well, as Michael said, it's a farm with working dogs. We've got other animals. Since I got Mo originally 4 years ago, we've not lost a single animal. My neighbors down the street, Gino and Antonina, they've lost an entire flock of birds all in one night to coyotes. The dogs need to be free to protect the property. We're going to be getting goats as well soon. And with all the coyotes about, they need someone to protect them. Mo's been there almost 4 years. Daisy was new to the property. We only got her just last November. So I was still teaching her her duties around the property. The breeds bred for hundreds of years that when a stranger or possible intruder approaches their protectorate, they bark to warn off the stranger. If the stranger proceeds to move towards their property, they've been trained that they will act more aggressively. Unfortunately, that's what happened. Michael was warned repeatedly, pull into the driveway, stay at the end of the driveway, call me when you're there. I had barricaded the driveway, not just for him, but for anyone. I had put up signs, no trespassing signs. And when he came out pulled up to the house, the dog started barking, and he got out anyway. The dog was doing what it saw was its duty of protecting the property from a stranger. Once the dog's introduced to a person, the dog's fine. We've had all these get-togethers and neighbors and friends come over, but when somebody completely walking in out of the blue like that, the dog doesn't know who it is. The electronic fence is a training device. It's not intended to be a permanent stop. The dogs are very territorial, and once they learn their property, they're good to stay there. Of course, any dog could charge through an electronic fence if they chose to, but they chose not to. Mo's been there 4 years now. Mo did overreact. And he definitely is more of an A-type alpha dog, if you've ever trained or raised dogs. And I was concerned that if something happened again, there is a potential that Mo could bite someone again. So I have put Mo down. I thought it was in the best interest of the community. Daisy, on the other hand, is not even 2 years old yet. She's still learning the property and her role, and she's definitely a completely different animal than Mo. So Mo is no longer an issue, and I do not feel that Daisy is a vicious dog or a danger to anyone. I have erected a fence to keep her and the animals in the backyard, and she will only be outside of the fence when I'm there or family or when we're having a get-together with people she knows. If you have any questions, otherwise I think that's all I have to add.
Does the animal control officer have anything to ask of Mr. Jenkins? No. Okay. Do any members of the council have any questions to ask Mr. Jenkins? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any witnesses in support of the appellant's case? Seeing none. Does, do any members of the public wish to come forward to the table to provide their input? Come forward, sir, state your name.
Name is Douglas Lawrence.
Would you just, we're going to swear you in on
It's
it?
just a statement I really
Yeah,
have.
that's
for-
good, yeah.
Do you swear that the evidence that you're about to give in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Great, thank you.
I originally came up here to see if the muzzle law was going to be for all dogs, because that's the rumor that's running rampant along with the rabbits in West Lincoln. I wished I hadn't come. West Lincoln has long been a farming community. And when a person that owns a farm has to put down a dog that is protecting his livelihood because someone was irresponsible, walked past a barricade and signs that said no trespassing, it's a pretty sad day for West Lincoln and a very sad day for the gentleman and his dog. I'm sorry. This is pathetic. I was a young kid, say 15 years old, had a German Shepherd. We had 2 signs up, no trespassing. A police officer walked right past them. My German Shepherd got the bottom of his pant leg. He took me to court to put the dog down. The judge told him, learn to read. The funny thing was, the police officer's last name was Dogleash. But it's a pretty sad day for this community. I'm sorry, it is. Farmers, they can't own long guns, they can't own small firearms. The only protection they have for their livestock and the birds that give them the food and income they have is to own animals. And a spaniel isn't going to stop a coyote. And I think it's just a pretty sad day. It really is. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Is anybody wishing to question? No, okay. Okay, you're free to go. Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wishing to? Seeing none, the members of the council will now deliberate on the merits of the evidence presented and will render their decision, or they may reserve their decision to be presented later, which shall not be later than 10 days following the date of this hearing. A written copy of the decision or the consent order will be prepared as soon as practical after the conclusion of this hearing and will be delivered or mailed by express post to the appellant at the address shown on their application, as well as the victim of the dog bite, the Niagara Regional Police, the Regional Public Health Department, the Township, the Welland and District Humane Society, and members of council. Do we wish to deliberate that now? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so at this time we have a resolution by Councillor Cody. Or he doesn't have it just yet.
Yes, I have that resolution. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Reiner, that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001. 1, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And 2, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution. Just for the purpose of the public, we will just be retiring to a secure room, just to the old library for a few minutes while we deliberate this, then we'll come back out for our meeting, which should resume shortly. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, we'll be back just shortly.